Muy buenas a todos, soy Dr. Emrys y hoy os traigo el vídeo resumen del AMA que tuvimos con Kieran Warwick, el CEO, el CEO de Illuvium, hace ya un tiempo, creo que el 21 o 22 de diciembre en Twitch, y tuvimos el AMA completamente en inglés. Bueno, pues ya se ha podido procesar ese AMA, no quise hacerlo en español en su momento para no perder o malgastar tiempo de Kieran, pero ahora sí que sí, ya procesado en YouTube, tenéis subtítulos y creo que os va a servir de mucho porque Illuvium me parece un proyecto muy interesante. Ya salió también el vídeo análisis por si queréis echarle un vistazo y no tiene desperdicio. Creo que va a ser uno de los juegos Play to Earn top del 2022, si no el más top de 2022. Tiene unas mecánicas muy interesantes, la entrevista fue muy interesante también porque Kieran se defendió muy bien y Kieran contestó muy bien a la mayoría de preguntas y además dio información sobre la venta de terrenos de Illuvium, de la que os quiero hablar también porque se viene muy próximamente. Dicho eso, dejamos vuestra opinión en los comentarios de qué os ha parecido este vídeo y qué otro contenido queréis ver. Suscribiros a las redes para no perderos ninguna novedad. Hago directos de domingo a jueves en Twitch, comento novedades en Twitter e Instagram y podéis hablar con la comunidad tanto en el Discord como en el Telegram. Y ya, dicho eso, vamos al lío.
Hola, bienvenidos, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches a todos. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm very honored here to have you here, Kieran Warwick, co-founder of Illuvium. Many thanks for coming. I must say, I discovered Illuvium 2 months ago, and I had the chance to start looking at it in detail for the last couple of weeks. And I must say, I'm very well, super impressed, super hyped, and I really believe this is going to be one of the best NFT games of 2022, if not the best. So I'm also thankful for the opportunity to have you here. Thanks also to Sierra Block Games for making this possible, and I hope my community and anyone who joins us today find this very useful. My community is Spanish speaking, however the Ask Me Anything will be in English. I will not do any live translations, but in order to make the best of our time, because time is limited, but my mods will be translating the questions and the answers on the fly. And now, yeah, without further ado, let's get into the questions, starting probably with an icebreaker. So thank you, Kieran, and if you don't mind, and for people who don't know you, giving you the word now, tell us a bit about yourself and the team behind Illuvium.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me, firstly. So I'm Kieran. I'm one of the co-founders, one of the three brothers that co-founded Illuvium. A little bit about me. I started in crypto about 5 or 6 years ago. I built a over-the-counter Bitcoin exchange. It was probably one of the first in the world, with our other brother, who's not involved in this project, but he's very heavily involved in crypto. He runs the Synthetics protocol and a couple of other things that he's doing in the space. But so I've always been interested in crypto, but I moved out of the space for probably a 2-3 year period. I was still investing and stuff like that, but I got burnt early on in crypto, as you do, the swings and roundabouts that happen, and so but it didn't take me long to come back, and once I saw what was happening with NFTs and gaming, it was just too good of an opportunity to not take, and yeah, thought the crypto space is missing a AAA game, so let's give them one.
We're gonna talk a bit about the upcoming land sale as part of Illuvium Zero launch campaign, but first I would like sort of people to know a bit more of what is Illuvium and the different stages or game versions we are going to see over the coming months. So if you can give us, Kieran, sort of a basic overview, because we got limited time, of what is Illuvium, the genre, the gameplay, and what we can see.
Yeah, so it's an open world RPG. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do in the open world apart from catching alluvials, but think of it very similar to Pokemon, where you're walking around this open world. There's mining that you can do, which is important for things like weapon creation and stuff like that. There's different battle arenas once you capture your team, so you can go in and play PvP in a ranked arena where you're going to go up against people of the same level. Then there's another arena which is sort of akin to what crypto is, and you can go in there. There's no rankings or anything like that. It's literally my best team versus your best team, and you can actually put down ETH as well as a wager, and the winner wins. So that's a feature of it. But think of it like an amalgamation or a combination of Pokemon meets Teamfight Tactics.
Because that's the main game, isn't it? It's coming in 22, correct me if I'm wrong. And I've seen this name, Illuvium Overworld, the RPG exploration mode, isn't it? With resource gathering and the Illuvial collection. And there's the Illuvium Battle Arena game, the equivalent to Teamfight Tactics with the ranked. And the Leviathan mode, isn't it? The one that is just go for the best against the best, or my best NFTs against your best NFTs. And I can get tired of watching, and I can get tired of watching the trailer. And my question is, so those two sort of game modes, will they come out at the same time?
We'll probably the overworld will come out at the same time as the PvP mode.
Okay.
Whether all of the arenas will be available is a different story. Like it might be that we launch with just ranked arena, and then we move into opening up the Leviathan. But because there's not too much more dev work in order to get both of those working, then I would say that there's a pretty high chance that we would launch that all together. But survival mode is the one that's probably going to come out first. That's what's going into private beta, hopefully by the end of Jan. That will be out, and which is a little bit more of a cut down version. You're basically more like a tower defense where you've got tons of alluvials coming. There's wave after wave after wave, and you need to defeat them. It's basically your way of learning how to utilize the different synergies of the characters.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know anything about that survival mode. So that's gonna be add another dimension of gameplay then. And will it be also sort of fighting in a auto battle style, or is just complete different strategy?
Yeah. So essentially it'll be the same exact system, except once you get up to like wave 15, wave 20, you're going to have like a huge team of alluvials coming against you. And so that's when you need to be really, really skilled and learning how to strategize and compose the best team to continue winning each round. And so it's like the lore behind it is you get like locked in this training arena, something malfunctions, and because of that, you're locked in forever, and it's just wave after wave after wave after wave. And so it's just a really frantic, cool way to fast track the learning of how to navigate through the battle system.
The other thing that I sort of couldn't find any info about that is I understand that exploration mode, you unlock obelisk, like it reminds me like Zelda Breath of the Wild, and then you start sort of exploring more regions. And I know in this exploration mode, you sort of try to catch the illuvials with your shards. And depending on the shard you have, the chances of catching different illuvials. So the more difficult illuvials, you probably won't have any chance if you do the basic, you try with the basic shards. But the only thing I couldn't understand is sort of how will the feeling be of this? Like you're exploring and you see an illuvium and you try to catch it. And when you sort of try to catch it, how do you do it? You just point to an illuvial and then you sort of open this auto battler arena, or how will that work?
Yeah, so you go you travel to the overworld, to the open world, and you basically, once you get in there, there'll be a bunch of different encounters. You basically need to shoot using one of the different devices that you have, and there's an array of different types of weapons you can use, but you're basically shooting a tracking dart at the alluvial. If you hit it, that will basically open up the encounter mode, and that's when you've got to basically chase it down until you can get into the auto battler, and then it turns into the encounter mode essentially.
No, that's really cool. Then I think there's no gameplay leak of sort of that mechanic. Is that right?
Not yet. Not yet. It's coming. It's like overworld leaks will start. I would say again probably mid-Jan, around that.
The Illuvium token is quite high in price. I mean, it's low supply, but it's quite high, expensive. Yeah. But for the overworld and battle arena, will the game be free to play, or will you need an NFT to start playing?
Free to play. Yeah. So okay. there's a free to play version for everything that we do. And the reason for that is we want it to be fun to play. And also we want people to have an experience and see if they like the game before parting with hundreds of dollars and then going, oh, actually, I don't want to play this game. And then you're trying to sell your assets and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a free to play version where basically you can travel through the obelisks without paying a fee, but you're only able to go and capture tier 0 alluvials, which that, you know, obviously the higher the tier of alluvial, the higher the value should be theoretically. And so a tier 0 is going to be the lowest value. What that is, I'm not sure yet, but there potentially could be the ability for you to put nothing in and start earning money for free.
Just to throw a general question, and I've seen an exchange of tweets by you regarding this topic, and I can say I agreed to a big extent, but how would you say how Illuvium is different and uniquely positioned versus competitors in this space?
Firstly, what Axie built is super impressive in terms of the concept of what it is, right? Like literally taking a game, building it from scratch on chain, and then, you know, utilizing NFTs, and they were just positioned so well. And, you know, the game, I think, because it was kind of an experiment to start off with, they didn't set out for it to be a AAA game. And so that's kind of the case with a lot of the games that are out now that you can play, because it takes so long to build a AAA game. It simply wouldn't be possible for us to have them yet, just purely based on this space only started existing 3 years ago. And so our biggest advantage that we have is that we were able to take a step back and look at all of these games that would be considered, you know, indie games in the mainstream. There's tons and tons that have, you know, similar graphics quality, basic lore, and all that kind of stuff. But we have this ability to look at that and go, okay, what are they missing? And as you can see with Illuvium, the biggest thing that is missing in this space is the graphics. And so we wanted to come out with something that looked unbelievable, and not something to blow away Axie Infinity or any of the other games in the space, something to literally make people go, well, this is as good or better graphics than the games that I'm used to playing in the mainstream, like a World of Warcraft or whatever like that, you know. And so that's the main advantage that we have, is the graphics. Obviously, you know, things like the lore and stuff. We've got a 1,500 page game design doc that just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. The amount of thought that has gone into the gameplay, that, you know, we've got 4 game designers that are on the team now. Wow. And so I guess to build a AAA, it's not just one thing, it's every single area we try and go next level on. And if we don't have the skill set there, or the expertise in the resources that we have, or the contributors that we have, we go and find it. And we just make sure that it's not a situation of, oh, let's just skip that, and that's going to be one little part of the game, and maybe people will see it, maybe they won't. We literally just go, fuck it, let's do it. It's going to take longer or whatever, it's going to be harder, we're going to have to stay up and do more hours, but we just go, that's what a AAA is, and that's what we need to do.
And however, even before that, I mean, before having Illuvium with the main game modes that we talk about, we're going to have a mini game of land and resource management called Illuvium. Is it officially called now Illuvium 0? Is that right?
Yes. Yes,
I think. Well, I've seen it. I've seen it in different articles, but yeah.
No, it is. It is. We've got a logo for it now, so I think that's fully official.
It's staying now. It's staying. So I'm just even gonna switch to another overlay. Hope, I didn't mess it up. Yeah, that's it. So you can see it even in a screenshot, and it's gonna be. It looks amazing, also for a mini game. And basically, can you tell us what can we do with it?
You can go and acquire tier 0 land, which is free. which allows you
Oh,
to go into the mini game and test it out, see if you like it. It's an idle clicker game, so I don't want to sit here and say that it's going to blow people away and it's going to be amazing. It's more similar to the games that blockchain players are used to. But you know, I've just seen the updated graphics on the buildings and stuff like that, and it does actually, it's starting to look pretty cool, and it's starting to have quite a few features in it. So it is probably a little bit more in depth than a mini game, but yeah, that's what we're calling it. But essentially, that's your way to produce fuel, which is required in the main game. And so
okay.
there are 3 different fuel types, and so depending on the type of land that you get, and it's completely random, depending on what sort of fuel sites you have on your land, you'll be able to build extractors, and the idea is to extract that fuel from the land, and then if you're a landowner, you want to sell that into a pool that we have created, which essentially will give you back ETH for what fuel you put in. Now, each of the fuels is connected to a particular activity in the main game. For example, the fuel that's required for shards, for example, in the beginning, that might be super popular. And if that's the case, it's going to be in high demand. The other 2 fuels might go lower in price, and so the person that has the reserves on their land for that particular type of fuel, and you can obviously, there's converters that you can build. So if you get a land type that only has one type of fuel, there is a way to convert it. So you're not like, hey, no one wants my fuel, what's going on here? And so there is a way, so you don't need to be too alarmed if that is the case. But going back to that, it's tied to the activity in game. So if it is shards, for example, then the fuel type for shards is going to go up in price. Then it might be, once everyone has their shards, the price of shards goes, the price of fuel for shards goes down, because everyone's sitting on an abundance of them and they're not as required. When that happens, travel fees might go up, and then that takes a different type of fuel. And so if you're the landowner that has that type of fuel on your land, now you're really happy because the price of that fuel goes up, the other 2 theoretically goes down, and you have this natural balancing act from both sides. So you're essentially, if you're a landowner, that mini game is fueling or powering the main game, and then you make a percentage of the profits from everything that happens in game.
Also, in case you didn't know, Kieran, we were at GamerG last weekend, so this is like a major sports event, esports event in Spain, and I could see even in Amazing Gaming event, many people were talking with us about the digital metaverse. They were interested, and many people also were arguing that buying things like land in a digital world might sound ridiculous. So, however, we can see how more and more these lands are reaching higher prices, probably higher prices than something in real life. So I think my question to you, that you're probably more in the space than me, you've been more time in the space than me. What are your thoughts about that? Like, do you think is it worth buying NFTs in the metaverse or digital virtual land in the metaverse?
I mean, I would be hypocritical if I
Yeah.
didn't say yes, but there are some warnings that I would give with
Yeah.
saying that. What's happening right now is I haven't seen it anyway, and it might be a case that I've just missed it or whatever, but there's no utility for any of the land plots that have been sold in any digital metaverse right now, apart from like Decentraland and Sandbox and stuff like that. In terms of the actual games, there's a lot of people that are coming out saying land sale, here we go, and essentially where the value is coming from is people are speculating on they're actually going to make that land do something and give it some sort of utility, but B, they're saying how many plots are ever going to be sold, so how rare are these going to be, and how popular will the game get? They're essentially the two things. And right now there's pretty much no one who's offering the first, right? So it's very hard to go, okay, I'm going to be able to utilize this piece of land for X, Y, Z, and that's going to bring me in, you know, X amount of revenue each year, and therefore after year 2, I've made my money back on my purchase, plus I might get the upside of holding on to it for a year. So now more people have entered the game and more people are looking for land, and so therefore it's gone up in value. They're the two things that you really have to look at, and when one of them is missing, you literally only have the ability to go, okay, do I think this is going to be rare or not, basically. With us, we're saying this is literally a dependency for people to play this main game, this mini game, which is attached to our land. So you know that you'll make some kind of residual income from this piece of land, which, and obviously as well, we have a finite amount of land plots, and you know, we're talking about getting tens of millions of players to come into this ecosystem. When you're talking about that many people coming in to play Illuvium, and there only being 20,000 plots that are available, you start to work out why people think that it's valuable to have these pieces of digital land.
How many types of land will there be on sale when this land sale happens?
So there's 5 tiers, like everything that we have. There's tier 1 up to tier 5. Tier 5 is super rare. There's only 7 plots. That's where we're basically going to host our esports tournaments. So they're a little bit different. Like they're probably going to go for really high amounts, just purely A, the rarity, and B, the people who own those plots are actually going to be able to host the tournaments, but then get a percentage of the advertising revenues from the esports tournament, because we're hosting it on their land. And this is where it sort of goes back to your last question, where it's like people are looking at this going, is like a digital piece of land, is that valuable? And what you were saying is, you know, is it potentially going to get to a stage where people are buying a piece of land that's more expensive than in real life? This is sort of that time. And without having a clear case of utility of this is why I'm spending millions of dollars on a piece of land, whereas with us, we're literally hosting what is probably going to be the largest esports tournament on earth in history, and we're going to do it on someone's digital plot of land. When there's only 7 of those available, you can start to realize, okay, now I'm seeing why there's going to be value there. And so they're a little bit of a different case, and they're not going to be in the same style of Dutch auction. They're going to be more of a regular live auction where the price just ticks up. But I'm expecting like 0.1% of ILV holders to be bidding on those lands due to how rare they are.
How can you buy those lands, basically?
So it'll be on the official Illuvium website. It's actually being sold through the Illuvidex, and so they're tied to each other. But which will be the first time that you guys will see the Illuvidex, and it looks amazing. But basically, the style of auction, and we do this with pretty much everything that we do, is a Dutch auction. And so we put the pricing of the land, we start it very high, and we put an aggressive decay curve on it, and essentially it starts decreasing in price instead of increasing. So it's like a reverse auction. And basically They'll be sold in batches over a 3-day period. The reason is there's so many different land sales that start and sell out in like 5 minutes, and that's amazing, and like it's all good. But in those sales, you've got like 10 people trying to buy the same plot of land. All of them are trying to process the transaction. They're all paying gas, and then only one person ends up with that land. Which, like, obviously, if there's so much demand and so much hype and whatever, at a certain point you can't stop it. But this way of doing it as a Dutch auction is the best way to combat FOMO and gas wars and stuff like that. Like we're literally telling the public, don't FOMO in.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they listen is a different story, but yeah, that's the way that it's the mechanics of the sale work.
When is this land sale happening related to the release of Illuvium Zero? Is it gonna be at the same time? I mean, do we know dates yet? Can we talk about? Can you let us know?
I want to say the 20th of Jan. That's our tentative date.
Okay.
That it's going to be coming out. If all goes well, then yeah, the 20th of Jan. But I'm saying that tentatively. I hate giving dates because it's
Well,
like if I don't give a date, everyone's upset and they're like, when is it? What are we gonna do? And if I do give a date and then we have to push that back by like 24 hours or whatever, people have got their pitchforks and they're like, you said that date.
my question was more related, like, are we gonna have, let's say, if I buy a land on the 20th of January, tentative date, will I have to wait a lot of time for the Illuvium Zero, or is it gonna maybe come out in a month, 2 months?
We don't have a date on
Okay.
Illuvium Zero
Okay.
when it's coming out, but the main game, it will be prior to the main game. You will be able to start playing it, but it will also be in a situation where it's private beta first, then an open beta. But in the open beta, there's probably going to be a situation where you can play the game, but you can't actually start earning from it yet, or we'll allow you to earn, but it's not going to be real ILV that you're earning and real fuel that you're earning. It's all going to be reset. Your land will go back to scratch once the main game starts. Because the fuel is required for the main game, we're going to start it all at the same time.
Also, you were saying tier 5 will have an arena. So I guess between tier 1 and tier 4, will it be basically a refinery? I mean, like refineries getting fuel, or there will be some sort of type of buildings exclusive to, I don't know, tier 3, tier 4, for example?
No, nothing's exclusive to apart from the landmarks. So if you get a landmark on your land, it actually increases the production of whatever that is, whatever that landmark, what the affinity is to that landmark. But apart from that, I think there's 26 buildings in total. That's what I'm saying. So it started off as a mini game, but it's turning into something that's like a lot more.
So also regarding platforms and sort of minimum requirements and stuff, is the game expected to come out on multiple platforms and devices?
Yeah, so it'll be Mac, PC, Linux, but not mobile. We're in the middle of doing a capital raise at the moment, or we're preparing for a capital raise. That's going to bring forward the release of mobile, but it's probably going to be sometime in 23 when that comes out.
For mobile, will it be just the mini game, or you were thinking also making the main game coming out of mobile?
Sorry. So the mini game that's coming out on mobile, that will be available mobile first, right?
Okay.
Like that's available straight away. The main game is what I'm talking about with the mobile release. We're looking to get that done ideally in 2023.
How important is for Illuvium basically to support that competitive esports scene?
Huge for us. I mean, the goal is if people are willing to watch you play, that's sort of how your game turns into an esports game. It's a game that other people want to watch, and therefore it gets super competitive, and therefore it turns into something where you can start putting on events and tournaments, and people will come and either watch or try and contribute and play. And so with us, obviously, TFT is a hugely streamed game. There's massive prize money for the tournaments that they put on. We want to go down a similar route. We literally just got Scott McCarthy, who was the chief marketing officer for Twitch. And so our focus is heavily on esports. That's going to be our way of or one of our ways of bridging the gap between a play to earn game and a mainstream game. We believe if we put on prize money that is higher than the likes of Dota and all of our other competitors in that space, we might not get everyone to come over, but we're going to get the attention of, I believe, the entire gaming world by saying, okay, well, they've just broken the record of the largest esports game by prize money. What is Illuvium, firstly? And secondly, once they start looking at it, hopefully they go, okay, well, this is just a newer, hopefully better looking version of TFT. I'm going to check it out and I'm going to start playing it.
I guess from a competitive point of view, you're going to keep an eye also on the Illuvials, basically, in the sense of a meta, isn't it? Just to take care that everything is balanced and the gameplay is balanced,
yep.
Synergies and everything.
Yeah, that's obviously a critical thing for us, and particularly because we have different sets of Illuvials. And I think people forget that. Like, we're starting with 150, but then the second set is going to have a whole bunch of new characters, which means a bunch of challenges in terms of balancing. And so we've got a system in place to run hundreds of thousands of simulations to make sure that the game is actually balanced, but it's going to be a challenge.
Who do you think will win the Metaverse sort of race, and what do you think the Metaverse and the NFT gaming industry is gonna look like in maybe 5 years' time?
I think it's sort of going to blend into each other, right? I like, there's right now it's this us versus them mentality, which is fine. I love competition. I'm all about that. But I think you start to see, there'll be these corporate entities that start dipping their toe in the water. We've already seen it with a bunch of companies that have started creating NFTs. Some it's gone well for, others not so much. But I think moving forward, the players are just going to play whatever they believe is fun. And typically that's mainstream games, right? From what has been seen in the past 3 years from blockchain games versus what you see in the mainstream every single day, if you went off that, you would have to say that probably mainstream's going to win. They're going to work out that over time, their players are going to demand, they know that this exists, but they these players are like, well, I'm not going to play a game that is low quality. I want to have fun. And as soon as those mainstream companies catch on to that, they're going to build an exclusive, blockchain based game. There's probably, a bunch of these companies that are already doing it. And so I hate to say it, but probably the seasoned teams that are used to building fun games are going to work out how to integrate the blockchain faster than small 10, 15, 20 person Web3 based blockchain studios are going to be able to work out how to build a AAA game. That's my thoughts on this. And I know that's probably going against my own people and whatever, I'm definitely a crypto native, but I'm also very realistic, right? And to build AAA games, which is what people want to play, it takes time, it takes huge amounts of resources, and so yeah. So I think it's a tough question because I don't really want to say, the Facebooks of the world are going to win this battle, right? But if you look at Facebook is going to be competing, essentially their meta model is going to be competing with Decentraland. I don't know. I kind of think that Facebook's going to work it out, but I think that there's always going to be that place for Decentraland just purely because the crypto OGs know that, you know, that was one of the first projects that started utilizing NFTs and stuff like that. So I don't know, I'm kind of a blend. It's a tough question to answer. I've got a whole bunch of thoughts on it.
No, and I completely agree with you, because even if the OG games are they were there at the beginning, you can't just convince the mainstream audience with that. They're just gonna go for what it's fun, and you're completely right as well. Even I know as well some companies are some AAA traditional companies are working on blockchain games now, and they're not gonna say it yet. They're just building on it. No. They're just working on it. So the problem when it comes, as you said, smaller teams, they're not gonna have time to adapt in that sense. And we know, I think it's almost certain that many companies are shifting. I mean, in the future there will be more AAA games, and in the long term those will be the ones staying. But yeah, it's a difficult thing, and nobody knows for sure. But it's what you can sort of get the feeling of. They're just putting the eyes on this NFT and game, crypto game. Yeah.
The other thing as well is that the reason why I say a blend, like if I'm in a AAA studio and I'm making games like Medal of Honor and all this kind of stuff, and I've had like a 10, 15, 20-year career creating AAA games, like take, I don't know, Nate Wells, for example. He's one of the guys that has contributed to the project. He went through BioShock's, built the entire series, was the art director of BioShock. Like, is he a mainstreamer, or is he now a crypto native because he's worked on Illuvium, you know? And there's teams that I've spoken to that have come from the mainstream world that are also in stealth, that are building AAA games, that have a roadmap of like 2023, 2024 releases. Are they going to be classed as mainstream because they've been building in the mainstream? All that, like, that's what I mean about this blend.
I will not steal more of your time, and I know you're very busy and maybe tired now as well because it's early there. And so, but I'm super excited for the game, even more after this session. To be honest, I could spend another hour asking you questions about the game, but enough is enough. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Be certain that we will keep talking about the game. No worries. And I'm planning to start a series of videos on my YouTube channel as well, where I will also upload a recap of the Ask Me Anything. And I mean, I really hope that I can see you another time, that you enjoy this as much as me. And do you want to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed your questions. It's I know you've got a huge community, so I'd love to come back on at any time. Maybe before Illuvitas, I'll give that a little bit of a shill.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you very much, and then we'll see you next time then.
For sure. Thanks, Dr. Emery.
Thank you, Kieran. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.